You are listening to Beyond the Measure, episode 31. Listen as I, a young composer, and my wife, a young choir director, interview other music educators in order to gain insight into their own success in the classroom. We have a lot to learn, and we want you to learn with us. No matter your age, ensemble, or experience, this is the ideal podcast for music educators, composers, and students alike. So join us as we go beyond the measure. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Beyond the Measure. My name is Christian, and I'm a young composer. Thank you so much for joining us today. If you're brand new, this is actually part 2 of a 2-part interview that both Kara and I did with Dr. Frank Eychaner, who is the Director of Choral Activities at the University of Central Arkansas. So if this is your first time listening, maybe go back one episode just so you can hear that first part. This is all about what he likes to call sustainability in the profession of music education. So what can we do as music educators in order to be able to physically, mentally, and emotionally sustain ourselves so that we can continue to do the good work that we need to do as teachers of music. So this is a great continuation of the interview in the last part. So I will quit yakking and we'll get right into the episode. So thank you so much again for joining us. And here's part 2 with our interview with Dr. Frank Eychaner. Well, okay, so going on to so excellence, purpose, deeper level. I mean that's, if there's one thing that I think our listeners need to come away with, it's that. I feel like that's where everything starts. But then when it comes to actually playing, living that out, that's when I think from what I'm thinking is where the balance and having that renewal really comes into play, so that you can sustain yourself to live out that deeper purpose of impacting people for the better. So going on to these other 2 points, I mean, how would you describe, what do those different things look like for balance and for renewal?
Well, the first thing that I would say about balance is that there are 1,000 people that are going to tell you what balance looks like, and they're all wrong. Not because they're wrong, but because nobody's you. We've got to give ourselves permission to find a balance that works for us. And we need to stop guilting each other when that way of achieving balance doesn't look the same as everybody else. I read a book 2 summers ago called Quiet. And it was all about introverts and how they function. And I came away with the conclusion that there is a part of me that is incredibly introverted. So for example, I have spent every day since I got to UCA, with the exception of 2 days, I've spent every day in my office, my new office at UCA, happily working away for hours and hours and hours and hours. That is a classical introvert statement, right? That is a classical introvert activity. I am very comfortable in front of a group of people, but I am not comfortable in front of a group of people unless I have a script that I'm working off of, because I spent time planning and thinking and right? The music profession for years has told us that unless you're a bigger than life, larger than, this personality that's just totally over the top, you're never going to be successful as a choral director. That's what our profession has said to us. And boy, what an incredibly disheartening thing for the introvert. So how does this relate to balance? Well, it relates to balance in that some people, for them, balance is going on vacation and going to Disney World and being surrounded by everybody else in the world who's not at work. That would be the least renewing vacation for me that could possibly exist. And I don't in any way diminish people that love to go to Disney. God bless you, go to Disney. That means you're not going to be on the quiet mountain stream where I'm by myself, maybe with my dog, maybe not, being renewed, finding balance. So the first thing I guess that I would say about balance is that we've got to know ourselves well enough to know how to accomplish that balance. For those of us that have families, it's not just about us. It's also about our spouses and our children and the other responsibilities that we have. And this is going to be hard for some people to hear, but some of us need to say no to some things so that we can say yes to the right things.
Especially us music people.
Yep. I, as a young professional, as a lot of us did, I said yes to everything. And I felt like I needed to do that because if I said no, I wouldn't get asked again, right? Man, you say yes often enough and suddenly you think you have to say yes to everything. But in order to do the right things, the essential things well, sometimes you've got to say no to stuff that might be important, might be good, but it isn't the right thing for me. It's not the right thing for my family. It's not the right thing right now. Hey, I can't do that right now, but if you would like to approach me again in June, I would do that. For example, this podcast is happening like a year after we initially talked about it because the time frames didn't work out. This is a great time for me to be able to sit and think and give you and your listeners, hopefully some thoughtful perspectives on some things. I can't do that in the middle of the school year because I'm thinking about my next rehearsal. Yeah. So the balance piece, you've got to know yourself. We also have to think about balance. As choral directors, we give ourselves a lot of grief because there are seasons when we're just really busy. Contests for anybody who has a UIL or a state assessment, Christmas and Easter certainly for anybody who's a church musician. Anytime there's a concert or, God forbid, a musical, you're just gonna be busy. We've got to give ourselves grace to make balance more of a gestalt and less of an everyday. No, I didn't make my wife coffee and breakfast in bed today. That doesn't mean that I'm a bad person. It simply meant that today was a day where I had an early rehearsal because we're getting ready for a show at the end of the week and I had to meet with my costumer after class. So balance, I think it's really important not to try to think of a day-to-day balance or even a week-to-week, but rather to recognize that there are seasons in our profession where I'm going to be 100% a dad. June, July, and August, right? But there are also going to be seasons where I'm going to be really, really busy. The week of UIL, my brain is going to be totally consumed. As a young professional, I can't tell you the number of times that I had a conversation with one of my very young children, 3, 4, 5. And I realized 20 minutes, 30 minutes into the conversation that I'm not really listening. And I'm overcome with a terrible sense of guilt because I'm not being balanced. I'm not being a good dad. Well, there's some truth in that. I'm not being a good dad in that moment. But how about the entire days where we took my kids for 3 and 4 days with each of my kids and we went camping just by ourselves in the mountains? Balance can't be measured day by day. It has to be measured over seasons because life isn't kind enough to give us a 9-to-5 schedule every day. That's just not how life works. Balance also has to be about how we take care of ourselves physically and spiritually. Way, way too many of us use our busyness and our schedule as an excuse to eat too much of the wrong things. I say that as somebody who's been a serial abuser of caffeine for my entire adult life. And I say that with some conviction. I have to slow down on caffeine or else I get a momentary kick, but then I'm vocally tired because I'm dried out. We have to make sure that we're taking care of ourselves. Don't grab that candy bar. Keep some healthy snacks in your office. I know that a cheeseburger from McDonald's is delicious and cheap, but it's probably not as good for you as stopping by the grocery store and getting that sushi to go or getting something that's healthy. So make sure, enjoy your piece of cheesecake. I'm not saying don't eat cheesecake. I'm just saying don't eat cheesecake every day and then be surprised that we feel bad and that, some of us, body image is a big deal. If I don't feel good about how I look, I'm not going to be as effective in front of the ensemble. If I don't get out and exercise, I'm not going to have the energy at the end of the day that I need to have to be the same teacher at 3 o'clock when it's, 75 degrees in my room in August and my kids are all tired because they've hit the lull, right? So I have to make sure that I'm taking care of myself in terms of exercise and eating the right things at the right amounts at the right time, not filling up my own tiredness with something that creates that cycle. And then giving yourself permission to figure out what fills you up. Christian, what fills you up? What is the thing that you enjoy most to just feel like, okay, I've got to have a break. I'm going to get a short recharge and I'm going to do it by this.
Oh man, a few things. I feel like one of them would be just sitting back on our recliner in the living room and just watching some random YouTube videos or something.
That's cool. Yeah, that's awesome.
He likes to play Pokemon too.
Yeah, Pokemon.
Say that, if you playing Pokemon Go?
Yeah, something like that.
That's awesome. That's awesome. A lot of us have discovered mobile games are a really wonderful way to escape. We need that renewal, but when the moment of renewal becomes, hey, it's 1 o'clock in the morning and I'm farming for this resource. Yeah. That's when that balance. So you see what I'm saying about there being balance, finding that my wife and I are rewatching Blue Bloods. It's a show. Was from the 80s, Tom Selleck. It's really, it's drama. We don't watch it until 1 o'clock in the morning. We don't binge 10 episodes. It's a great way to unwind at night. It's a healthy balance if we're using it that way, to just kind of sit together and watch a show that we both enjoy. But then if we watch, that extra episode, at that point, it's not balance anymore. So does that make sense? Trying to figure out where that is in order to kind of stay healthy. It's hard to keep your energy if you're sleep deprived.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, too much. The old, I don't know what you call it, old adage or whatever, but too much of a good thing is bad.
That's right. I love sweet corn, and I never get as much as I want. But when I've had 6 or 8 of them, I've had as much as I can eat.
Yeah.
And I've probably had too much of a good thing.
Oh, yeah. That's like me with those Lindor truffles.
Oh, preach, brother.
Yeah.
So good.
That's it.
So good.
Cool. Okay. Would you like a way to create a special moment, a unique memory that only you and your students can share? Is there a certain audience you will be performing for and you want just the right type of music for the occasion? Or perhaps you're just in need of a piece that has a specific voicing, range, or theme that you haven't been able to find anywhere else. I mean, last time I checked, publishers weren't scrambling to create music for a bassoon, alto voice, and accordion trio, but maybe that's what you're looking for. No matter the reason or the instrumentation, I would love to fulfill your music needs in the form of a commission. If you're unfamiliar with what commissioning me would look like, or even any composer for that matter, you can learn more about the process at christianfortnermusic.com/commission. This includes info such as the step-by-step timeline, payment options, and more. I want to work with you so that we can create a memorable experience for everyone involved, including you, myself, the performers, and the listeners that will hear the music for years to come. Because remember, you never know whose lives will be changed for the better because of the music that came into existence because of you. So are you ready to make a new memory through new music? I am. Take the first step by filling out a commission request form at christianfortnermusic.com/commission. Hope to hear from you soon. All right. Well, and what about renewal?
Well, renewal is something I don't think that we talk enough about in our profession. It's different than balance. When I say renewal, I'm talking about how do we invest in ourselves, in our own skill set, in our own, it could be even invest in new opportunities so that we're excited about showing up for rehearsal. Maybe do a program of music that I've never done before. So let me give you some examples. Graduation from college does not mean that I have everything that I need to know. I have presented over 140 interest sessions at professional conferences around the country. I didn't do that because I needed to. I did that because if don't have a due date, meaning the conference is going to be on the 27th of January, I am not going to do the work. And I need to do the work in order to be better at fill in the blank. Vocal pedagogy. I've become a pretty good vocal pedagogue. I'm proud of my knowledge of the voice, and I'm proud of how I can hear a problem in the choir. I can say, okay, this is the fundamental vocal issue that's going on here, and I can get about giving you 37 ways to fix that issue. Well, guess what? I didn't know what I needed to about vocal pedagogy when I graduated from college. And I realized very early in my teaching that my lack of knowledge of vocal pedagogy was going to create a hard stop on just how good I could get a choir to sound, right? It was a barrier to excellence. And we know that excellence is important. I knew that the problem was me. I think any honest educator will say at some point they've been standing in the classroom and said, the limitation on this class right now is me. If I was better, if I was more knowledgeable, if I was a better motivator, fill in the blank with whatever the particular is. I had a realization that the problem was me. So guess what I did? I peeled out a bunch of applications to a bunch of professionals to say, hey, vocal pedagogy for the choir teacher. And then I got an acceptance, and then I said, okay. I bought 50 books. Probably didn't buy 50. I don't know. I bought a bunch of books. I talked to people that were smarter than me and said, hey, what are your go-to resources for vocal pedagogy? And I read them all, and I tried to assimilate the information, and my own classroom became this wonderful catalyst slash laboratory for working at stuff out and trying stuff and saying, hey guys, did that work better for you sopranos? Well, what happens when renewal is about figuring out how to do it better so that we're never stuck in a rut. Renewal is about not programming that same piece of music that we did 3 years ago. Not because it's not a great piece of music, but because you are never going to be as excited as you were teaching it the first time. Renewal is about finding a mentor that's smarter than you and asking them questions about how they do what they do and getting those great ideas, or being reminded of those great ideas of something that you used to do but stopped doing or got out of the habit of. Renewal is about figuring out how to keep your glass full so that when you go into your classroom, you can pour out on your students humanly and musically. And like balance, I think that we have to find the renewal that works for us. For some of us, professional development is great. Going to professional conferences and sitting in the session with the guru, that's huge. When I was young, that used to speak to me. That was the best thing in the world. Now I find I get more out of books. I get more out of watching my colleagues teach than I do out of reading about teaching. I get more about sitting and having a deep conversation with a professional colleague or a mentor than I do at our professional conferences, in part because I've changed. What I need to do to renew now as a 53-year-old is very different than what I needed to do to renew as a 24-year-old, 25-year-old. Heck, I didn't even know the right question to ask as a 24-year-old. Now I'm going to try to figure out a fifth or a sixth or a seventh way to ask the same question so that I can make sure that I'm never getting boring to my students. And it's going to be different. Some of us need to go to professional conferences and we need to sit and have a lot of wine with people across the table at TGI Fridays. Renewal looks different and we need to give ourselves permission to be renewed in the way that works for us. But don't get stuck. As soon as you feel you're stuck, hey, it's time to take that book off the shelf and not watch Blue Bloods, right?
Yeah.
To, sit down and write a lesson plan and say, you know what? I've always taught the sopranos how to create space this way. Clearly, it's not having the same result. I need to figure out a new way to help them to lift the soft palate. Insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. All of us as choir directors are insane. We are. We've said it that way 100 times, and we know we have, and we expect different results, and we don't get different results, but what do? We say it the same way. We need to go get renewed and figure out a new way to say it, both so that we're not insane and so that our students as singers can be better, right? And then when they are, then we'll experience the excellence that makes us feel so good about that rehearsal. right? So you see how there's this virtuous cycle of finding the balance, creating renewal in our processes and in our minds and in our skill set so that we achieve the excellence musically and human that we want to, so that we want to show up to work the next day.
Great example of that. I mean, for me, going as of recording this, we just got back from attending TCDA.
Awesome.
Those y'all out of state, Texas Choral Directors Association conference this past week, and for me personally, it was so renewing to just be there in the presence of so many individuals that are so passionate about making music. For me as a composer, to hear all the new music that's coming out and how directors are going about finding new music and choosing new music. But then also on top of that, I'm thinking kind of like what you just said. I mean, TMEA, for instance, a couple years ago was their 100th year anniversary. And I'm thinking, okay, well, here's an educators conference that's been going for literally 100 years. And yet there are still new sessions over new techniques on how to teach certain things every single year that are completely new to people. And so it's still, even after 100 years, I mean, it's not like everybody's just figured it out, right? It's like, oh, that was it. Well, let's just keep doing that.
And I would say this too. I've seen a trend in the last 10 years, hard in the last 5 years. There's a lot of sessions about a very few topics. And I don't have a problem with that, but I'm afraid that the novel has taken place of the foundational. I would really, really encourage my colleagues to go to sessions about warm-ups, to go to sessions about conducting, to go to sessions about voice building, to go to sessions about choosing good repertoire, to go to sessions about taking care of people. Sometimes we get our politics bleed into our teaching, and that can be really, really dangerous because, again, back to our initial conversation about excellence, unless our kids sing really, really well, they're not going to care about how we want to change the world. Let me say that again. Unless we have the tools to help our students, our singers, sing really, really well, they're not going to give a rip about how we want to change the world. And whatever your particulars are about how you want to change the world, I want to challenge you to be a great choral director first, then change the world through that. And you'll have a bigger platform if you're really good at what you do as a choral director. If you need to edit that out, feel free, but I feel that needs to be said.
No, that's great. Well, that's a mic drop right there. Yeah. Is there anything else on subject of renewal that you want to add to that?
Well, let me do. There's one other thing that I haven't talked about that I think is really, really important.
Okay, yeah, go for it.
Before I dive into that, I do want to say that we've talked a little bit tonight about how we're all individuals, and as a result, we're going to find balance in different ways.
Yeah.
We're going to find renewal in different ways. I think it's really, really important for us as a profession to stop equating better with a bigger school or older students. It's going to be really, really difficult for you to find sustainability in profession if you work yourself up until you are no longer working with a population with whom you were built to work with. We're all hardwired differently, and we need people that are passionate and hardwired to work with elementary students and we need to figure out ways as a profession to celebrate that excellence where it takes place, right? We need to find our middle school directors that are just killing it, and they're connecting with those kids, and they're getting them excited about music and music making, and we need to celebrate them where they are at. I'm so tired of us saying, oh, you're a really great middle school. When are you going to apply for a high school job? We do the students, we do individuals a disservice by communicating, well, you're okay at what you're doing, but you're really not going to achieve professional success until you're a high school director. Or taking these really great, you should get your doctorate and get a doctorate,
like it's a rank.
Don't go get your doctorate. You can take a massive pay cut. Don't do that. Be a great high school director. We need great high school directors. There's way more DMAs running around than there are college jobs. So I say that to say we need to figure out ways as a profession to celebrate excellence where it happens. And then the last thing that I would like to talk about is this whole idea of sustainability, is that we need to be courageous enough to recognize that where we are called to work and serve can and should change over our lifetime. Now, that's not necessarily true for some people. Some people get out of college, they get a job in X school, and they're going to work there for 25, 35 years, and they're going to be amazing, and they're going to be celebrated and lauded, and they're going to achieve the excellence that we talked about every day. And there is something to be said for spending time. The longer you're at an institution, the more you become a part of that institution and a culture and a culture maker. You're going to be more effective in your job in your fifth year than you are in your first year. That's important to say. At the same time, when you enter your first job, you are going to be learning a ton. You're going to have challenges. You're going to overcome those challenges, and you're going to have new ways of thinking about things. You're going to have new knowledge. You're going to have new experiences that will open the door for you to have the opportunity to make a difference in a new place. We as human beings crave variety. We crave newness. You know, the first time that I drove from my new rental property to my campus at UCA, I was just blown away. Oh, there's big trees everywhere. It's totally green, completely different than where I've come from. Oh my gosh, isn't that so beautiful, that awesome flowering bush, right? I drove to work today and I didn't think a single thing about how beautiful it was. I was thinking about, okay, when I get to work today, I've got to do check A and B, and I've got this meeting, and then I've got this lunch, and I've got to get this repertoire ordered in, and then I'm going to talk to Christian and Kara about this podcast thing that we're doing tonight. The same thing happens for us as professionals. Once you've walked that journey so many times and you've lost that sense of freshness or that sense of this job is exciting and challenging, it is okay for you to look for opportunities to grow, to get a new opportunity to work in a different context, to use the skills that you've gained, to use the experiences that you have to make a different impact in a different location. Sometimes the difference between you being very happy at your job and feeling fulfilled and like you're making a difference and being miserable is simply a change of address. It's also really important to say that we're not all hardwired to be successful. You know, if you were one of those people that was told, hey, you're really good at this, you should apply for this job, and you get into that job and it's not a good fit, you're miserable. The work situation is different. The demographic of kids is different. Your resources are different. Your whatever. Be courageous enough to say, hey, I'm going to go back to where I was happy. On the other hand, and I say this to our young educators, friends, you unfortunately get the jobs that nobody else wanted. You get the jobs that nobody else wanted. If you get in that job and everything is perfect, you must be God, because somebody else didn't take that job because there were hard things about that job. If you get in that job and it's hard, go there, invest, be all in, learn a bunch of lessons, and then go find a job that's not as hard. That's what somebody else did that made it possible for you to get that job. So an important part of sustainability is never feeling like you're trapped. Give yourself permission at different times in your journey as a professional, in different times as your journey as a family. Hey, having a big secondary high school is really rough when you're trying to be a mom. It's really, really rough when you're trying to help your parents go through cancer or, God forbid, dementia. There are seasons for us as choral professionals, and we need to give ourselves permission to go to the place that fits our life right now, and to be at peace with that. To be at peace with, hey, I'm working in a smaller program right now in this season of my life for fill in the blank. I'm okay with the fact that I'm only going to impact 40 kids a day as opposed to 140. Give yourself permission to be that person. Those 40 people need a passionate, committed, enthusiastic person as much as the 140 do.
Oh, that's great. I feel like, I really know what else to say. That's just a great way to, I feel like I say this on almost every guest we have. They all y'all always just end with a banger, like a final statement. It's like, all right, well, we can stop recording right now.
And cut. Hey, celebrate.
Yeah. Oh man. Oh, that's huge. And it's such a big mindset thing. At the end of the day, it's like you can choose to look at it that way or not. and that's going to determine how you go about doing it.
Yeah, it's really easy for us, just like it is for our students, to experience a challenge and to get discouraged, sidetracked. But if through this paradigm of sustainability, finding balance in our lives, making sure we're taking care of ourselves, constant renewal, never getting stuck, never feeling like we have to do it the same way we did, finding excellence in our context, be it musical excellence, be it relationship excellence, be it teaching excellence, be it magical moments excellence, be it great relationships with your administrator excellence. And then feeling like if we can't make it happen where we're at right now, giving ourselves permission to find a new address where our skill set and our personality and our passions are better aligned with the goals of that community. This makes a career. This makes it possible for us to show up every day, well, minus a few, we're all human, and experience joy and a sense of significance and impact every day. So I hope that some of those tools can allow somebody to have a happier today and maybe even a happier career.
Thank you so much, Frank, for sharing all of your thoughts with us. I'm really excited to share this with everyone else. You and a lot of the other people we've recently interviewed have all just been so good. So we're excited to get all of these thoughts out there. Before we wrap it up, I mean, I know you're just now kind of easing into this new position at UCA, but for anyone that wants to keep up with you or the choral activities at UCA, I mean, is there any way that they can reach you or follow up with y'all?
Sure. UCA has a Facebook. If you type in UCA, University of Central Arkansas Music Department, you can follow our performances. Will go up there. If you'd like to reach out to me, I'm not a big social media guy, but I do have a Facebook account. If you type in Frank Eychaner, DMA, you'll find me. And I do post very occasionally, but I'd love to connect with you and see what you're doing. If you're interested in pursuing a master's, I would love to have a conversation with you. I am going to have an opening, a full-time GPTA for next year. So this would be a great time to begin that conversation if you're at that time in your career where you're ready to, change your address. Come talk to me. Let's make that happen. And then, of course, I'm at professional conferences all over the country. I'm a one-to-one guy, so pick up the phone and call.
Yes. Hey, that's good. That's good.
I really appreciate the opportunity to come in and share a little bit, and it's great to see your faces and hear your voices, and I wish you all the best as well. Keep on keeping on.
Thank you.
We need to talk about the next commission we're going to do, Christian.
Hey, yes, let's do it. Just let me know.
So I need to learn these choirs and figure out what they can do.
Mm-hmm.
Get
Sure.
at least a concert in the book so that you can listen and get inspired.
Hey, that'd be great. Anytime, just let me know.
All right. Well, maybe we'll fly you out here and you can be a guest artist for us.
Oh man, that'd be another first, right?
Okay. Well, maybe what we do is we have you write a piece. We do that and Shockachi and maybe something else, and we do a concert featuring the music of Christian Fortner.
Oh man.
There you
Oh,
go.
that'd be so fun.
And it's green out here.
That's right. I was gonna say, wow,
It
green.
doesn't stink either.
Yeah, it doesn't stink.
I don't know. I always thought Midland Odessa stunk all the time.
And while you're here, we'll make sure that you get some work-life balance. I'll take you fishing.
Perfect.
Okay.
Oh, good. I've never been. So
I know you told me that. I couldn't believe it when you told me that.
Yeah.
See, I'm sorry, Kara. I'm going to ruin him for you.
Oh, I
He's going
love
to fall in love.
fishing.
Well, come on. Will you come out too?
All right.
there you go.
All right.
Perfect.
Hey, God bless you guys. Keep fighting the good fight.
Oh,
Thanks
of
for all
course.
you're doing for music and music education.
Oh, thank you, Frank. We really appreciate
Yeah.
it.
All right, signing off. Take care.
All right. See ya.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode of Beyond the Measure, a podcast for music educators. We hope you learned something that will help you stress less about how to teach so that you can focus more on who you're teaching. If you enjoyed the episode, please leave us a rating and review, subscribe, and share this podcast with other music educators. See you in the next one.